brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched in the UK, Greg. I just need to ask, do you have any personal history or grooming stories you'd like to share with the fine listeners of Inside the Mind of Miles?
Oh, man. You know,
If they type in the word Miles on Manscaped, they can get 20% off a purchase.
Ooh, I might have to hop on that afterwards. I don't know if I have anything that's – I'd rather share it in a locker room than in here. But
I don't blame you. So, this can be a life-changing product. This is what they tell me right here. So that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest private area trimmer ever created. Just released now is the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. The third generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce, are they trying to talk me into this or out of it? To reduce grooming accidents. Its waterproof technology allows you to groom in the shower. One of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates a grooming area for the closer and precision grooming. That's what I gotta have it. Let's not forget it's got a charging stand. So you can set it right up there, right? And it sits right there. You know, I think
close to the shower.
Well, I think what I would do is store it on the in the formal dining area on the dining room table. Invite my in-laws over for dinner.
Centerpiece.
Yeah, and just see how that conversation goes. Show your mower off proud, it says, because you've an intelligently designed stand for a convenient charging block powered by a USB. If you're listening to me speak right now, folks, I want you to experience it firsthand yourself. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code MILES, MILES, at manscaped.com. You get 20% off, and your privates will thank you later.
Wonder if
Greg, that's our read. I'm blushing.
That takes a lot, Coach.
You know, what else? What was our other one? We had another read. It was really a good product, I'm sure. I know it was.
Yeah.
I think it was. I don't know what it was. But hey, here we are with another episode of Inside the Mind of Miles. And we also have Sammy Cam. Yep. And hi, baby. I know you're right here. And what a week in college basketball. Just never disappoints.
Crazy week. I mean, we had Shock on last week, and, you know, he had a pretty good game.
Run it up on him. Just run it up on him. I mean, come on. I mean, great action across the board in all the different leagues. Northwestern's been a great story, although they've now kind of, everywhere you look, there's a ranked team in the Big Ten. And Minnesota is really another alumni of Inside the Mind of Miles. Richard Pitino, Liam Robbins was really good all week. I think he had, like what Luka Garza would have in one game, he had in two, which are great numbers, like 28 and 16 in two games. And I just think that the Big 12 with what Texas is doing, the SEC, as they're getting into league play now coming up, I think it's really interesting to see how all this is shaking out.
Yeah, a lot of good games this too. So I mean, ACC is going to start ramping up. And they had a couple games canceled over the weekend.
Yeah, and Gonzaga, first Big Ten game canceled, Wisconsin, Penn State. Gonzaga is really, Jalen Suggs' dad, Larry, played at Valley City State University when I was at, I think, Mayville in Southwest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going way back.
Good small college player, yeah. He's been at Louis Lee Fieldhouse, folks. So New Year was good to you?
New Year's was good. Everything was good. Not at my in-laws this week, so got the background back.
Back with the trilogy.
Back with the trilogy.
And what hat do we have on?
This was the Christmas present. It's a Pawtucket hat, but it's the Fighting Quahogs. So they had the creators of Family Guy come on, and
that's what they needed.
They changed the name for one night. to the Fighting Quahogs.
Um,
Because in Family Guy, that's where they live. The Griffin
I
family
figured it was something.
is
It
the
had to be.
Quahogs.
Yeah. Yeah. And your shirt, of course, is
Oh, this is a just Disney one right here, Massachusetts.
Oh yeah. Does Massachusetts have its own land and food like in the Epcot world, like all those other places?
No, but if you go to the
cornbread
U.S.
or
area,
anything great?
it's lobster.
Lobster. I
Lobster.
believe it. I believe it. I believe it. So, any resolutions for your new year, Coach? Anything? Any personal things you got for me?
You know, I think my resolution this year is what every coach says every year: watch film.
Yeah.
But
Watch more film.
Yep, gotta watch more film. Gotta get, I haven't watched it yet, but I can't wait to watch the 26-point comeback that we're gonna talk about here later with our guest.
Yeah, I tell you what, Niko Medved's our guest today, folks, on Inside the Mind of Miles. They just set a Mountain West record for coming back after being down 26 points in the first half. Largest margin of what a point margin to come back on. And wow. I mean, it was, it was funny because the Florida game ran late on CBS. So by the time I got it in there, it was like 28-6. So I'd already seen most of the whipping, and then it ended up like 36-10 or 36-12 or whatever, 38-12. And then they got going. And it's a fascinating conversation. And it was funny that ironically, this was just kind of how it worked out for us. And so it was great to have Niko on. Of course, I worked with him and you worked with him at Colorado State. We were there. You were there the rest of us are there 5 years. And Mountain West is that staff, Craig Smith at Utah State, they're off to a great 4-0 start. And then, of course, DeMarlo Slocum, who's the associate head coach at UNLV, was with us for 4 years. And he is about to start Mountain West play. But it should be a fun year in that league, too. That's a league that is, now going to be featured on Fox Sports. Certainly, it's always on CBS College Sports. But it's going to be out there more often, I think, that people can watch it. So that'll be good.
And it's such a good, tight-knit community. I mean, everybody speaks so highly of Dutch and how good of a person he is. There's definitely a lot of camaraderie. Alfred's back in there. He was at New Mexico, and now he's in there. And a lot of great coaches in there. You asked me about my New Year's resolution. I had a couple questions for you.
Oh, yeah. Let's go, boy.
First one, what would Isaiah Roby's New Year's resolution be?
Oh, man. Well, every time I start, I get 22-7 in an NBA game. So I think it would be to be a starter for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
It's crazy how many times we rep that out in practice, him not dragging his foot. And then when you watch the replay, he doesn't travel. And that's the one league in the world he can get away with the travel.
Exactly.
Dabo Sweeney, not basketball, but Dabo Sweeney.
Filter? Easy rider.
The last one I got for you real quick, Sammy. What's Sammy's New Year's resolution?
She's got to lose 10 pounds, man.
She and me both.
She has not missed a meal. And that's just not a thick winter coat. It's not like she's up in the Arctic Circle trying to protect, the varmints from getting the house or anything like that. She's just hanging around, eating, snacking. She got to get her act together, get out and get some exercise. I like it, though. Coach, I tell you what, this should be a fun broadcast. I look forward to what we're doing here. And on behalf of Coach Eaton, we have no close today. We're the open, just to switch it up a little bit. I like it, but thanks for joining me, Coach. And now we bring to you Niko Medvod on Inside the Mind of Miles. Thanks for joining us on what is perhaps or most likely the world's greatest podcast in the history of mankind ever. Thanks, folks. See you, E.
See you, Coach.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Inside the Mind of Miles, which we know is the greatest podcast in the history of mankind. And again, it stays on top because we have Niko Medvod, head coach of the Colorado State Rams. How are you, you stalwart Ram? You must be feeling great today after a big win against San Diego State in the Viejas Arena.
It's a great feeling, and I'll say this: it's so weird. I actually kind of missed the show. I kind of missed the fans in there. And I just went to Dutch before the game and I said, you know what, Dutch, I really missed the show. And he's like, so do I. And I said, no, I know you really miss it, Dutch. But, but I tell you what, when they were on that, we were down 26 yesterday. I sure as heck didn't miss the show. I'll tell you that much.
Well, this is your 8th or 9th trip to the show.
Yeah.
And, when of course, you and I worked together at Colorado State, and now you're the head coach at Colorado State after Drake and Furman stops. And so Niko, greatest comeback in Mountain West history, 38-12. Adam Thistlewood hits a corner three, and you had to be thinking, now we go. What was going through your mind? We've all been there. One of my favorite sayings is, if you're going to get down early. You got the rest of the game. Talk to me.
Believe it or not, I was to myself, I joke about that with you all the time. I had that going through my mind, but once it got to about 20 or 22, I'm like, this is pushing it to a whole nother level. But I think at that point, we really challenged our group, and it was just, let's not worry about anything else. We just gotta play better here for a short stretch and try to get into some kind of rhythm offensively. We made a lineup change. We'd been pretty good defensively so far this year. They had made a ton of perimeter shots. They're a good shooting team, but I didn't know if they could keep shooting it at that kind of a clip, and needed to challenge shots a little bit better. And once we started stringing a few stops together, able to get into a little bit of a flow on offense, like you said, Thistlewood, a couple of our veterans knocked down shots. It was really interesting about, then that next stretch, the momentum really started to change, and you could feel it on our bench and in our staff that we started to get some confidence, but we weren't thinking at that point about, hey, how do we cut the lead to this or that? It was just playing better. And sure as heck, we went on a big run and went into halftime down 7, and we were feeling pretty dang good at that point. You know what I mean? We were feeling pretty good.
Well, it's amazing when there's a certain amount of bottoming out that goes through an event like that, where now there's incredible level of freedom and kind of calmness comes across the guys. It's almost like screw it. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, you've quit worrying about the outcome and you truly go back to growth thinking, process thinking. Let's just do what we do better. And that can be really, really good for a team.
I think that's a great point, Coach. I mean, you just kind of let it go a little bit. And let's forget about all this stuff. Let's just right now in the moment, let's focus on what we need to do to just play better, to play our game, to do what we need to do. And I think that's kind of what happened. And then, boy, it kind of snowballed. And you're right. I was like, hey, if you're going to get down early. But let's never forget. We still prefer to do the other way. Yeah.
If given the choice.
Hey, a wise person told me once, if you don't get behind, you can't lose.
That's true. True. Wise person. When we talk about that process, though, it kind of reminds me of what Nick Saban tries to do with an elite talent winning a championship, that, if we can get in this certain mentality where all that matters is us doing our job as well as we can do it, as often as we can do it, great things can happen. And that's really what I thought the lesson was with your guys' comeback last night, because once you did get to halftime, certainly, I mean, you make a huge 14-0 run to cut it to 12 and then still battle back, and end the game on a big run. And so that I think that first run never happens. The last run never happens unless you get the first run, of course, and get that to just around double figures. But the art of that comeback, what'd you change, Coach? I mean, what did you have to do differently? We know anybody that's played in the West has to understand San Diego State is like a Big Ten defensive team. They're punishing, they're physical. You look at they have men. Sometimes you're out there and you got this skinny rat running around from, Larimore County High School. And I mean that in the most affectionate way. And they got some dude that's like 23 and you're like, oh my goodness. And so, what did you have to change? Because one of the hardest things to do is score consistently against a San Diego State.
Yeah. Dutch they had a really good game plan, really kind of ambushed us a little bit with kind of how they were handling some of our actions. And I think what changes, we went small. We decided to play small and put Roddy at the 5. And we had been doing that. We had planned to do it, but maybe not as early as we did. And I thought that really helped us kind of get in a flow and maybe take advantage of some of their switching. We were able to get in the paint a little bit more, kind of got them chasing us around a little bit, there's, as Miles, they're so hard to get in rotation. I mean, like you said, they're so long and they're in the gaps and so I think we were able to do that a little bit and knock down some shots. And then we're pretty good in transition offense. And when we were able to finally get some stops and get out, space the floor early and maybe get, like we talk a lot about getting to the next action, they disrupt it. Can we run some action to get to the next action? And then from there, our spacing I thought was much better. And we got 5 guys out there who can shoot the ball and put it on the floor. And I think we really had to combat it that way. And then, you know how it is. Sometimes when you do that, I don't want to say you take away their pressure, but their pressure isn't as effective. And you kind of get into the flow of the game and then they're not taking you out of as much stuff. And we were able to get them on their heels a little bit. So, I mean, I think that's the basics of the schematics. And we were able, when we were small, to still hold up on the defensive glass. That was a huge concern of ours. But as we were able to do that, we could get some rebounds and get out in transition. And San Diego State only had 9 2-point field goals in the game and shot 12 free throws. So even though they made threes, we were able to keep a team that big, not scoring in the lane. And I thought that was big. And you always say the easiest shots to offensive rebound are ones in the paint, And
any shot at the rim's a good shot.
Yeah. And so I thought we did a decent job that way, but really I thought it was the decision to go small, maybe attack their switches a little bit different. And David Roddy's just such a versatile player, and I thought really was able to take advantage of them.
Sophomore, 6'6", out of Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and has really done a great job for you. The one thing about attacking pressure like that, Nick, when you look at it, and you and I again work together and have been friends for a long time, even before we worked together, and it's like one thing your transition does to a punishing defensive team is you're really able to get down and shoot it before they can get you. Those transition shots really give you, if it's something well practiced and emphasize what, and the CSU Rams are like that. You're a transition you're going to try and score in the first, it appears to me, 5, 6, 7 seconds of the clock. And that, those first couple threes, I think Kendall Moore maybe hit one and Thistlewood hit one, right?
Yep.
Were corner threes, and they were just before that defense got a chance to eat you up. Now that loosened it up. Now you were small. And, sometimes when you're trying to reverse the ball against those teams like we're talking about, you're like, I don't think we can get it to the third side because they're going to snatch it and take it the other way, But you were able to loosen that up then, get that ball reversal, and get that offensive flow, and yet survive, like you say, being undersized and not fouling and not giving it up on the glass. And that certainly continued the second half.
Yeah, and it's such a fine line. I mean, they're so good defensively that, that shot, that look that you get 7 seconds into the possession, if you don't shoot that one, you're not getting a better one.
Yeah.
And I think, if you trust your guys and analytically, it's a good shot for guys who make a high percentage of those. And it's a fine line. It doesn't mean you just want to go down and shoot it quick, but we taught you got to be shot ready. You got to be ready. When that opportunity presents itself and it's a good look, you have to be ready because, that may be the best shot you get on that possession. Because once they dig their heels in on the defensive end, are they tough.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that, and I've talked about this with other coaches at different times, it's the shot you don't take sometimes that kills your offense. Sometimes I had some guys that, they could shot fake Casper the Ghost. It didn't matter. It's just like, what are we doing out there? There's no shoot your shot, man. And you're right.
They're long and they'll do that, Tim. You get in those molds against good defensive teams where you shoot it when you should drive it when you should shoot it. They're constantly keeping you off balance. But I think it's that, when you really get into a flow offensively, and we were a good offensive team last year, we're still a work in progress here, but I think a lot of times your best shots come in the first 8 seconds and the last 8 seconds.
Yeah.
It's being able to play well in both scenarios. And can you keep your offense moving that if you don't have a great shot, can you keep trusting it? And oftentimes when you get really good and you're patient enough in your motion, it's that last ball reversal, that last screen where you finally break them down. And Sammy, I love it.
Says hi.
Hi, Sammy.
We're dog guys, folks.
I know. Blitz, I have a big German Shepherd at home too. It's the same way when I'm home. So
yeah. But what you said is exactly right. and when you talk about the last 8 seconds, what you have to see is like, certainly you have to keep the ball moving the last 8 seconds. That's where the extra pass has to come in. If we're just going to drag it out, go middle ball screen, and then throw up, a crappy shot that maybe's offensive, but it's how do you break down the defense or keep the ball moving? Maybe you do drag it out, get a middle ball screen, and then start spraying the ball out there. Maybe you just keep the ball moving. And that's the best case scenario, is when you can continually move the ball and get guys to attack to take that best shot. There's no better feeling when that thing goes through the net and the clock goes off to see the reaction of that opposing defense, is there?
Man, and you think about it, you got to tell your guys what happens. The shot clock gets to single digits and they panic, but you think about it, 8, 7, 6, 5. You got plenty of time. You just got to have the patience, and you're right. It's very difficult to get to the third and fourth side against a team like San Diego State, but when you do, like any team, you're effective, and it takes time to build trust in what you're doing and to relax and to keep playing, and we're still getting there. But like most teams in the country, when you're able to do that and trust what you do, that's oftentimes when your best shots come. But yeah, I mean, if you can do that against a team like them and you end up getting a great look late in the shot clock and it goes in, I mean, that is gold.
Well, it's amazing. You talk about the 7, 6, 5, the countdowns. That's one thing the show used to mess with us a little bit on. I remember when I was at Michigan State, I was at Nebraska coaching at Michigan State, we used to steal the little letters they put out for the students. And it would say in the first half, we're going to count up, so we're going to count, 5, 6, 7, and it confused the guys. And in the second half, we're going to start the count at 5. We're going to start at 8, 7, to kind of confuse you. So I'd steal the little sheet to tell the guys, now listen, the first half they're doing this and the second half they're going to do this, because you have to. I mean, it can mess with you a little bit. And I've sure missed the crowds. And I know it's been a big adjustment for you guys. And that leads me to this. Your next game is against San Diego State, dude. Well, how do you like these back-to-backs? It makes sense. It's the right thing to do health-wise, especially with limited testing. And I know the bigger schools haven't had to do it, the Power Fives and all that, but it does make sense for the travel. And hey, you get 4 days in San Diego in January. Not so bad.
No, it isn't. It isn't bad. We just did it against Fresno. It's different. I kind of like it. I'm kind of trying to embrace it. We are as a team and say, hey, you really get to do this in the NBA, right? Kind of a mini series. And this is so different for us. And I'm trying to figure, how is this going to make me a better coach? And how can we learn to, make these kind of adjustments? And maybe it kind of pays off in a conference tournament setting, but it is different. I mean, it's very, very difficult. I think Coach Lapis last night after the game came up and said, whatever, great job. And then he said, oh, Niko, and by the way, he said, good luck Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Lap knows how to deliver it cold.
And I get it, but I think it tests your maturity. We were fortunate to beat Fresno twice. But you get up, you flush it. And I think you just got to take an unemotional look at the game. What did we do well? What did we not do well? How do we improve? I think you can't outthink yourself and try to think about every what if might happen. You still got to keep the main thing. But this, I mean, it's going to be an incredibly high level of intensity, but it is every time you play these guys, whether we played them now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're so good at what they do. And so, but I'm real curious to see how Monday goes, but we're going to have to play a lot better. We were still down 26, Coach.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, we won the game, but I mean, there's a lot of things we need to be a lot better prepared for to have success on Monday.
Yeah, Niko, if we just look here for a second and hang on here. Oh, heck, I can't do it. I wanted to share my screen. Your probability of let's see where you were here. Did I screenshot it?
It wasn't good. I know that.
It was not. There it was. There it was right there. Your probability of winning, as you can see, folks over here on the right, it goes from 0. And then Colorado State way up there at the end. So your probability of winning was like 0.05.
What does Ken Pomeroy know?
Pomeroy.
He doesn't know.
First of all, he's a great man and a meteorologist at best. And it's his damn computer that never liked us. We always know that.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So now you go back and this has been a fascinating time. Mountain West really looks like CSU's right up there. Nevada's going to be pretty tough. Utah State's doing very well. Boise State looks excellent. Looks like there's some clear teams at the top. Appears there's some clear teams at the bottom. Then it comes to how are we going to do against those middle guys? And some of those guys haven't even played, like UNLV, and in San Diego State. Is this their first game? Was that their first league game?
This was San Diego State's first league game. They've been fortunate enough to play, but they had a little bit of a break for Christmas. But yeah, this was their first league game. Really, us and Fresno. I think Boise and Boise had played New Mexico earlier than we had played Fresno, but now the league's really getting into full swing here.
Yeah.
Right now, so it is. It's gonna be fascinating, and I think I heard you mention this before. You don't have the same home court advantage. Clearly, but I think it works both ways. You don't have the same at home, you don't have the same on the road. And so I think that it's going to be fascinating to kind of follow these scores and see, and, let's call it what it is. I mean, last night had the show been there. And if you've been there before, I played at Cameron Indoor Stadium, and also when San Diego State, the Viejas is packed, it is as good of environment as anywhere in the country in college basketball.
Yeah. It's just a different time zone. So people aren't, but when you live your life in those time zones like that, you really look forward to games at San Diego State. And like you say, your reference to Cameron Indoor, any arena with a phenomenal environment is the Viejas, the show checks all the boxes. Mm-hmm. You're a Roseville, Minneapolis kid, started with Clem Haskins. What made you decide after high school to get involved with college basketball? And Niko has the best Clem stories, folks. And Clem had a huge influence on you, of course. We always referenced him when we had conversations, it seemed like, and a good man and a good guy to work for.
The Cliff Notes version is, when you grew up in the upper Midwest, like we did, at your point, better. I mean, the only Division I school in that area was the University of Minnesota, right? Everybody in the northern side were Division IIs. And my dad, grew up taking me to the Gopher basketball games. I mean, I grew up going to those games as a kid, watching them. I fell in love with the program. I was always a young person. I wanted to coach for whatever reason. I was crazy, but it was something I was attracted to teaching, coaching. And I thought the coolest thing was I want to get involved at basketball at that level. And that was my opportunity, to be able to do that. And I wasn't good enough to play at that level, but I wanted to get involved. I wanted to coach Division I. I didn't really have another network to get me in. And, Dave Thorson, who's now on my staff right now, he really kind of helped connect me to become a student manager, student assistant, work my way up. And I had just an unbelievable experience there. And, Coach Haskins had a huge impact on me, the way he built the program, the passion that he had for what he did. And then he got me involved with the Nike All-American camp with George Raveling at that point in time. And I think those experiences going there, and, I remember being, working camp with Frank Martin and Steve Smeg, go on and on. Frank, sorry, I won't tell any stories that'll tarnish your career. But I think that really changed the trajectory for me, is getting involved and, seeing firsthand how recruiting, how things worked at that level, at the highest level of college basketball. And then, I went and I coached Division III after that for a few years, which was, from the—
Is that McAllister?
Yeah. Small college coach. People have no idea. I mean, you have to do everything. I mean, having that experience at that level is just unlike anything else. And I think as my career progressed, I think looking back at my time at Minnesota and there, you had to do everything that went on in the program, you understood, right?
Yeah.
From what the managers, the secretary, to whatever, what you did in travel, how you recruited, I could go on. And I think having that knowledge and understanding what people did and how those things work, I think really prepared me well for the future.
There's no doubt when you know how the manager feels and how the third assistant feels and how the head coach feels and what's expected of everybody, because you've been in those roles, it prepares you for something else. You had a great run with Larry Davis at Furman, and then you ended up back at Minnesota with Dan Munson and inevitably then Jim Molinari. And tell us about those experiences, some of your favorite times being at Minnesota in two different capacities, Furman. Talk to us about those experiences, how it prepared you to be a head coach.
Well, that year in my life from Furman going to Minnesota, I mean, without, again, getting into the Clip Notes version, it's funny how life takes you to certain places sometimes in life. And going back there and getting a chance to work on staff at Minnesota with Dan Munson, who unfortunately, was let go that year. And then Coach Mo takes over. I'm there. And I tell you what, that year with Coach Mo and he and I working together was one of the best years of my life. And even though we didn't have a lot of success, we developed, I think, an unbelievable connection, and getting a chance to do that. And, having him become a part of my life, as you know, on your staff was just awesome. And so I think that really prepared me, getting involved in so many different things and getting a chance to work with a guy like him. And then really, I mean, Coach, a huge break after that was when, you and I had a great relationship, but you brought me to Colorado State, and we went in there and built that program. And that experience really changed me. I mean, you've had as big a part of this as any, is helping mentor me and become a head coach. You taught me how to run a program, and you gave me so much autonomy. Do you know what I mean? Is that, I think Craig would say the same thing, when he was there, that both of our, and DeMarlo too, but what you allowed me to do and what you taught me as a coach, and all the other things that go into running a program, and what you do and the energy behind it, going through that and doing what we did when we got there, how it started, how it ended, was, people have no idea. But going through that with you, and the staff was just the most invaluable thing. And then when I became the head coach at Furman, I felt like I was prepared. I maybe wasn't prepared 6 or 7 years ago, but going through that and seeing all the work that goes in and having the patience really prepared me. And I would not be where I was even close without having gone through that.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. That's extremely generous. I know this. You got autonomy because you deserved it. I know talent. I know when to get out of the way, and that's evident now. Married Erica, 2 children, 1 dog. How's family life? Because you were single, just got married right at the end of our run at CSU. How's married life and being a father changed you? What's that like?
It's the coolest thing ever. I mean, it's completely, it does change your life in a positive way, obviously, but the kids grow up like crazy. One thing that's been, I guess, a positive from the COVID thing is my first daughter, Allie, I moved from Furman to Drake, 3 months after she's born, even before that. And then we moved again. And so I didn't get to spend, as much of the first 2 years at home. With her, Taylor, my youngest daughter, is one I've been around and gotten to see these changes every day, and it's incredible to watch them grow and develop. And so I've enjoyed that piece, being at home. And this is so weird for us. I'm on the road. I'm in my hotel room in San Diego, and I'm kind of by myself right now. And I'm like, well, this is peace and quiet here.
Yeah.
Like, what does this feel like? As coaches, that we get used to that, right?
Yep.
We get to go and like, hey, I get to just kind of be alone here and in my thoughts, and but this feels like a foreign world. So
no, I'll bet. Have you had a chance to get to the South Beach Grill to have any fish tacos down there? I mean, that's the spot.
Man, it is the spot. It's so different. The travel is, this is our second time in California, but it's different. I mean, you're here in the hotel. You might go went for a run this morning, by the hotel, but you're pretty much locked down.
Yeah.
I mean, the food service, everything's different, but we don't venture out much, unfortunately, because San Diego's a nice place to go back.
Yeah, there's some spots. Well, you can still get outside and get some vitamin D. So that doesn't hurt you too bad. Coach, I tell you, as you've gone through this and you've done this, I for one, have admired, your ability. One is like, for instance, you ran the spread offense, and then you kind of recreated a secondary, a faster way to play into the spread. Who had that influence on you? How did you decide to make those changes schematically, and why?
So the one that stood out to me, I remember when I was an assistant at Furman, we went to play Creighton, Dana Altman, and we had Kyle Korver, and we went to play those guys, and it was a tournament, and we ended up playing them, and I scouted and I watched them play. And I immediately was just fascinated. I'm like, I love the way these guys play, and what Dana was doing at Creighton at that time. I had that vision, and I'm at Furman as an assistant, and I'm like, okay, like I could see this, I could see it. And I thought it was so difficult to guard. It was unique. I thought it was a way you could recruit to that. I love the spacing, so on and so forth. So I really kind of took an interest in that. And I just started to learn. I started to go and research and talk to different people. John Beeline then is somebody.
I was going to say, you're a John Beeline guy too.
Yeah, has had and in that way, and And then you just, like everything else, like you steal and then you kind of morph it into your own. And then when I became the head coach at Furman, for whatever reason, even though I had done that as an assistant, it took me a couple of years before I changed. And then finally we committed to starting to do the spread and the transition, and we took off. We were terrific for a couple of years in a row. And I've taken it with me. The year we went to Drake, we did the same thing. And now I've won away from the straight spread here. We kind of do more of a lot of 2-guard front stuff, but some Princeton influence.
Princeton-ish.
It's kind of morphed into the thing. We run some drift action, so on and so forth. But we have a blast with it. We try to recruit people who we think fit. I think that you have to be able to space the floor and shoot as this thing changes here. The teams are too long. They're too good defensively. They're able to pack it in the lane. And so, that's kind of how it's developed and turned into our own thing. We were terrific offensively last year. We're a work in progress. I think some of that is experience. I think missing the 3 weeks that we had right before the season, I think really kind of hurt us. But we're also doing some new things schematically that are going to take a little bit of time, and some young guys who have a lot on their plate. But I'm excited about it. I think we have a real upside there on that end of the floor.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about Dana, and anytime I talk about Dana, of course, our friend Kevin McKenna, who's one of his right-hand man assistant coaches. And folks, you're only as good as your staff. And that's, what we talked about earlier. When you've got a talented staff, and Kevin is a super coach, was a sitting Division I head coach, left Indiana State to go with Dana. And he always told me he thought as they moved jobs, and especially with transfers coming in, the spread or a set offense was always great to have to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
Defined roles that you kind of knew where shots were going to come from for the most part. And they've done a very good job too of integrating that difficult early offense with stretch 4s and stretch 5s and just all of those guys. They've done it at Creighton. Greg McDermott's now done it there too, and you've done it. And it can be really fun to watch and hard to guard, all in the same boat. But I really thought what Kevin had told me about, having that staple was really important. And I would say your staples are more conceptual than a set. Hey, you go stand here, you go there. You can play off the elbows, where it's going to be, you've got some certain actions that everybody can depend on, that they know this is what's going on, and they're all hard to guard.
No, it's true. And I think your scheme develops, your players teach you a lot. You start to do things, and as you watch, you kind of learn what fits, what doesn't fit, how can it all morph together. Another guy is a great friend of yours, and Brad Underwood did that for years too. And I'd even had some talks when he was at Stephen F. and I was at Furman. He ran the same thing. He's obviously morphed now that he's gone to Illinois with his talent level and all that. But I think those things start to teach you how you want to play, and your players teach you so much. You learn, and I really like that. How could we do that? How could we read this and kind of changing our terminology and all that. But no, I really like it, and it's been good. But like you said, you got to keep evolving. You got to keep changing. You got to keep seeing how people are guarding you. How can you get better? Just because you like to do something doesn't mean it's going to work.
Exactly. There's a lot of plays I really like that we never scored on. I love that action. We always miss.
You know how many bright ideas you have? Like I have this bright idea to go in to try to score against Dutch's teams at San Diego State, and they just stick it. Where, and you're like, oh, that was brilliant,
Yeah.
Like that ATO I tried to run last night. Like, what was I thinking? Holy cow.
Niko references the bright idea. I used to be famous for an assistant would want to run a play. It would go badly, and I'd turn and say, any other bright ideas? How do you? So
I think Coach, I used that when we were down, 18 to 20 to 24, like every time. Any of you guys got any, ideas?
Any bright ideas out of you guys? Hey, you usually all talk when things are going good. I don't hear anything.
It was crickets over there, Miles. Like nobody had anything for me.
Broke Panash's like this.
Yeah, like, come on, man. Like, let's go. Yeah.
So, all right. We're just going to wrap it up here. So I used to be a freak about trying to, on game day, a ritual, a good luck charm. I always loved to find a penny heads up. I mean, I would drive to the McDonald's drive-through and open up my door right under the window where they do change to see if I can find a heads up penny. What kind of rituals are the Rams got going on? Or what kind of, do you have any, idiosyncrasies and this isn't a tip off. This is just a cold question.
Oh, that's a great. I don't know that I have, on your game day routines, I like to, like most guys work out, at some point, but what I try to do is after shoot around or walk through is over, I try to tell myself the hay is in the barn. And a lot of times, I'll either, if I'm at home, I'll play with my kids. I might even put my head down for 15 minutes and I try to do something, turn on some music, do whatever, but I don't want to think about the game for a second. And then as soon as I get to the arena and I do it, then it's
you're on
back going. But I think trying to find a way to decompress, however you do that, for that hour and a half, a couple hours, and I think is really important to try to clear your mind. I'm better. We're all emotional in this, but when I'm too hopped up and I'm too emotional, I don't think clearly. And so I really try to do that because I know it's going to happen in the game, but anything I can do to kind of try to calm my mind down and put my head down, go for a walk, listen to some music or something. Nothing crazy, simple. But we try to encourage all of our players to have a routine, whatever that routine is for you. You got to have a routine.
Got to be able to do it at home and away.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, so today you make your money, boy. You go to practice and they're eating cake. You need to eat them. You need to get them eating crumbs. You got to eat them. Got to give them eat crumbs.
Just go out today and just like loose ball drill.
Get
after them, right?
Today like make your money, dude.
Get your mentality right.
Yeah. Get mind right, game right. And
but it's a great opportunity for all of it, to learn. And it's nothing about this is easy. Everything about this is hard. And, you got to come out and flush it. And another opportunity to test our guys from, hey, that one's over. We enjoyed it. Can we come back today and again, take an unemotional look at the game and figure out what we need to do and continue to learn more about these guys. But I'll tell you what, these guys, I have a great group of young men and they really showed. You
don't have a senior, correct?
What's that? No,
you don't have a senior.
No seniors, only 3 juniors. The rest are underclassmen.
Nice.
They're a really young group, but we've got guys who've played minutes. But boy, they're connected, and it's not easy to do what they did last night. And that's a testament to them of never quitting, never giving in, staying together through adversity. And regardless of what happens, we got better from that. And hopefully that carries us over into Monday. It's gonna be an incredibly tough test, but let's see what happens.
The country will be watching because the country watches Inside the Mind of Miles, and they're going to want to know. Niko, best of luck, man. Thanks for coming on. I can't wait to see what goes on Monday. Now, this was a CBS game. So if folks want to watch it, you should be actually to go and find it somewhere.
Yeah, well, actually, the one yesterday was CBS. It's FS1 tomorrow.
FS1. Oh, yeah. Fox is coming in with the Mountain West.
Yeah, so we changed. We got Fox. Yeah, Fox has done a little bit now with the Mountain West, which I think is really good. No, Miles, appreciate you. This is the best podcast in the history of mankind. It took a step backward today. You know what I mean? It did, but we're all good. So
not when you sweep the Aztecs on Monday. No problem. So
I didn't say that, Dutch. Miles said that. I didn't say that. Yeah.
Dutch is the best. We had him on earlier. He was great. Listen, kind of guy Brian Dutcher is. We said off camera. He reached out to you after the game. How about that?
I mean, it does that. And the only guy who called me after our debacle against St. Mary's, I put on the phone and Brian Dutcher's calling me. Just
Niko, I didn't call you. I was running away from that one. I was like,
and I'm like, I don't have it in me to do that, but that's who he is. He's just one of the best people in our business, a terrific coach, and there's a terrific program. I mean, all the way around. So you know this. You were in the league with those guys, Fish and Dutches. Much respect for them as anybody in this.
Oh yeah. Great people. Good luck, Coach. Our best to the Rams. I'm proud to be. I see as you ram. Yeah, I used to be able to sing that song real good now. So those were the days. Nick, good luck. Best to you and your family and your staff. Go get them.
You too. Same, Coach. Appreciate you.